Well, hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Sunday show. This is your weekly catch up spot, basically. Like, we discuss the best of movies, TV shows, superheroes, everything big that's coming across in pop culture across various segments. So, once again, welcome to the show. And I just want to start by acknowledging that I'm so sorry that we could not do a Sunday show last weekend. Life happens, shit goes down, and that's it. But let me reassure you that this show is totally gonna be worth your while. So once again, thank you so much for all of you who took out the time from your Sundays to spend it here, so we can talk about the things that we love. And without any further delays, let's get straight to it. And there we go. So, before we get started, just a few housekeeping points that I always tend to go towards, which is that I'd love to take as many comments as possible. So, if you've got a question, you've got a view, you've got an opinion, um, anything basically, please don't shy away from firing them in the comments below. I will make it a point to take all the comments, as many as possible. Um, and apart from that, you guys are my eyes and ears sitting on the other side of the camera. So if you feel there is any issues with with the audio, with the video, whatever it is, please don't please support me and just let me know in the comments if there are any issues that you're experiencing, so I can fix those as I go along. And the final point being, please keep it chill, please keep it civil. We are here to discuss the things that we absolutely love that help us get through our difficult days. So please, let's stay chill and civil and let's just enjoy the show. I'm sorry. And with that down, let's get straight into it. And we're going to start with the headlines. Because I missed the show last week, I have to tell you that this is going to be a pretty hefty. It's gonna be a lot of headlines and a lot of news upfront, but please stick around. I'll totally make it worth your while. And with that, here are the headlines of the week. Sorry. So the first one is that Dave Bautista has officially been announced as Kratos in Prime Video's God of War TV series. So excited about that. The next one is the Odyssey is now the biggest R-rated movie ever, overtaking Deadpool and Wolverine. And this is such a big moment in cinematic history. Apart from that, Spider-Man Brand New Day still continues its what's the word here? Its colossal run at the box office. It's just breached the $2 billion mark at the global box office, and it has officially become the highest grossing Spider-Man movie ever done. Apart from that, Marvel's given us a bit of Doomsday homework this past week. Apart from that, Deadpool and Wolverine ended up crashing D23 as well, similar to how they get crashed, Comic Con earlier this year. Apart from that, a bit of update from the world of Harry Potter. So we finally have a Gilderoy Lockhart in the form of Nicholas Holt, and then the much beloved game called Hogwarts Legacy is getting a sequel, and it is finally in the works right now. And from the world of DC, we've got Gorilla Grodd coming to DC. I know it's not the name that we really want to hear, but there is a lot to unpack here as well. We'll talk about that in just a second. And apart from that, DC's reportedly shelved a couple of shows which were the earliest announcements when this new DC was taking on, in the form of Waller and Paradise Lost. So those were the headlines, and now we're just gonna go into a bit more detail in every single headline and just unpack these news pieces as we go. So Dave Bautista officially set as Kratos in God of War TV series being done by Prime Video. Um, Now, for those of you who haven't really been following this for a bit, I just want to remind you that I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago that we really spoke about this. And earlier, it was Ryan Hurst who was cast to play the role of Kratos. Again, a big action star. You might have seen him in Odyssey as well. He plays the role of Mentor. Very famous for Sons of Anarchy. But the dude apparently had a bicep tear, which would have sidelined him for more than a year. So that is why Prime Video had to recast. Now, there were a lot of rumors floating around. There were some news reports coming through that Prime Video was on the lookout and they were in active discussions with Dave Batista. But now it's official, Dave Batista will be taking on the role. Just a bit from the article here. As Variety previously reported, there are few better suited for the role of Kratos than Batista. Aside from the fact that he is an accomplished actor, he's one of few in Hollywood who could step into the role on short notice in the physical shape it requires. I've got thoughts there. So, Kratos is known for his incredibly muscular physique in the games, and Batista has been in remarkable shape throughout his career. Thus, he does not need months of prep time to prepare for the role. Um, I totally, not totally, I think I agree with this in bits and pieces. Like, here's the thing, right? As a former pro wrestler, he is not alien to all the effort and all the different biomechanics that go into becoming a bodybuilder and really bulking up. But let's not forget Dave Batista, as of now, is 57 years old. Not too far off from Ryan Hurst, who himself is like, I think, 50 or 52 years old. But at 57, when Dave Batista walked away from the MCU and walked away from the role of Drax the Destroyer, one of the things that he mentioned was that as he's getting older, he wants to take on roles that allow him to express himself emotionally rather than physically. And as he's getting older, he doesn't want to keep at bodybuilding forever. And this guy actually lost a bit of weight over the last 2 to 3 years. So for him to put on all that muscle all over again, it's going to be a bit of a task. And let's not forget, again, he's 57 years old. I mean, for a 20-year-old to put on 10 kilos 15 kilos of pure muscle mass takes a lot of effort, and when you're on the other side of 50, it takes even more. But regardless, I still have high expectations from Dave Batista. I think he is one of the better actors we've gotten from the field of wrestling. And he would be able to bulk up, as I'm sure. So what do you guys think about it? Please don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below, and with that down, we move on to the next one. So, the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, has been making some records as well. Of course, it's not been setting the box office on fire the way Spider Man Brand New Day has been. But very rarely has it happened that a filmmaker, uh, like people would go to watch a movie just for the sake of the filmmaker, not the actor, not the premise, not the theme, none of that, just for the filmmaker. And Christopher Nolan has that kind of a pull, when it comes to the audience. So the Odyssey has just made the record of the highest R-rated movie at the global box office. Like, this is big news because there's two things here, right? The first one is that the movie that it replaced on that number one spot is Deadpool and Wolverine. Dude, I'm not kidding. When Deadpool and Wolverine came out in 2024, it was supposed to be such a big moment in pop culture because let's not forget, Hugh Jackman, after having hung up his claws, was returning. And him and Ryan Reynolds are a hoot, the two of them together. So for both of them to come together, and that movie was destined to do so well. And in fact, in the post Endgame era, it was one of the strongest movies that Marvel had put out. So for the Odyssey to do that is a big deal. The other big deal is that unlike other projects, like it's not a superhero film, it's not an action film like in the conventional sense, right? Like that high octane action. It has some stars, some accomplished artists in the field, but how well this movie managed to do. And let's not forget that even Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's previous movie, almost fell short of reaching the um, almost fell short of reaching the 1 billion mark. but this one has done it. Now let's take a look at this article from Deadline and see what they say. The Odyssey opened to 264.1 million global, the biggest over for Nolan, ahead of Dark Knight Rises, which was $249 million. The Pix 139.6 million opening at the overseas box office was also the director's biggest ever internationally, ahead of Oppenheimer and Dark Knight Rises in like for like markets. What's interesting is that Deadpool and Wolverine still owns the biggest global opening for an R-rated movie with reported 444.7 million, as well as stateside 211.4 million. The Odyssey's record speaks to the power of legs and, yes, a long run in IMAX. The Odyssey's domestic opening of 123.5 million was the third best for Nolan after Dark Knight Rises and Dark Knight. The movie, which opened on the 17th of July at the North American box office, is entering its sixth weekend of release. Now, this article was on the 22nd, and today it's the 23rd, right? So just three days ago. But I totally resonate with this point that this was a movie that was released in 17th of July. And again, it's the norm right now. If it's a superhero movie, if it is a nostalgia or a legacy IP, got some big names attached to it, it will have a big opening. But some of the movies, Avatar is an exception, and so is the Odyssey. They may not have the biggest of openings, but the legs that these movies have, especially with the Odyssey, like from the 17th of July to now, like it's been running for more than a month. It says it's entering its sixth weekend, right? This is big news, and I'm so happy because I absolutely loved that movie. My one point though is that I still do not understand why it was rated as an R-rated movie. For my friends sitting in India or other parts of the world, in the US, R-rated means certified for adult audiences. Now that usually happens when there's like a lot of gore and violence, there is a lot of substance abuse, or a lot of cursing or horror sequences. So with all of that, I think a lot of people have been discussing. I also spoke to a couple of people, and everyone thought that the reason this movie essentially got R rated was because of the whole Cersei scene where she molds their faces and molds them into animals, right? Because we also get to see a few naked butts in that scene. But regardless, I'm so happy for the Odyssey. How did you feel about this movie? Please don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments, and we move on to our next piece, which is this mammoth called Spider-Man. Spider-Man Brand New Day has still been wreaking havoc at the global box office, and it's at the $2 billion mark in just 3 weeks. Let's not forget, we just spoke about the Odyssey, which crossed $1 billion mark in about 4 to 5 weeks. This has done it in half the time. This article comes to us from Variety. The newest Spider Man is one of 8 films in history to reach the $2 billion club, joining the small but mighty company of 2009's Avatar at 2.9 billion. Of course, it reached 2.9 after its re release, which it got after Endgame. 2019's Avengers Endgame 2.7, which I am expecting will breach the $3 billion mark because it's again going to get re released this year before Avengers Doomsday. 2022's Avatar: The Way of Water at 2.3 billion, 94's Titanic at 2.2 billion, 2015 Star Wars: The Force Awakens at 2.07 billion dollars, and 2018's Avengers: Infinity War at 2.03 billion dollars. Meanwhile, the prior Spider-Man installment, 2021's No Way Home, was this close, this close with $1.9 billion, dollars, but missed the milestone because the superhero adventure did not play in China. Notably, Brand New Day is the second fastest film to reach the threshold after Endgame, which got there after 11 days. Okay, there's a bit to unpack here. Firstly, it is only the eighth film in the history of cinema to cross that $2 billion mark. But the next thing is that at $2 billion, it is also the highest grossing Spider Man movie that's ever been done. This is huge because while it is being compared to Avengers, let's not forget an Avengers movie has a minimum of six superheroes, and that is only counting the first Avengers movie. Ever since their roster's been growing, and those characters are almost as popular as Spidey. Although I will still die on that hill that Spidey is the most popular superhero that's ever been. So for one single superhero, for one single character to have that kind of a pull where it is going toe to toe with uh, a superhero ensemble film it speaks volumes in itself. But also beyond that, I'd just be curious on what is the upper ceiling for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Like, suddenly I feel like Avengers Infinity War is at the risk of getting overtaken. Star Wars The Force Awakens seems like it's at it's it can be overtaken. Titanic, I would say, is probably a bit off, but I wouldn't put it beyond the realm of possibility. But it makes me so happy because see, people took a lot of time to really warm up to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which in my opinion, it's been my favorite Spider-Man that's ever been done, or Peter Parker, right? But with a new director at the helm, with a new story, with a few wild swings that were taken in the last three movies, it speaks volumes about how well this movie is done. And also is a testament to how good this movie really was, that people wanted to keep going back to this movie again and again. So that was the news that Spider-Man Brand New Day has hit the $2 billion mark in just 3 weeks. What do you guys feel about this? Please don't shy away from sharing your thoughts in the comments below. And the next news is, if you remember a few months ago, or rather a year ago, Kevin Feige did acknowledge that Marvel was making itself inaccessible to New Year, or to New Year, not New Year, to newer audiences, um, by adding a lot of homework. And they wanted to do away with all of that. But guess what Marvel's done again? They've given us homework. So this comes to us from Deadline. 15 shows and movies to watch before Avengers Doomsday. And this is a list, surprisingly, which was published by Disney itself. Now, I had been seeing a few comments, a few chats, a few messages, a few social media posts as well, that were just trying to work out on what all to watch before Avengers Endgame. Now, of course, there are those who are mad enough, like myself, who would just start from, uh, the first Iron Man movie just to get to it. But again, to think about it, the first Iron Man came out in 2008. So that's what, 18 years of movies and TV shows to cover up in a year. That is a lot. And to be honest, with every passing year and with every new project, the number of projects would keep increasing. So Golu actually texted me one day and he was like, dude, I want to prep for Avengers Doomsday. So what do you think is essential viewing, and what are the things that I could just bypass? Because he kind of dropped off the bandwagon after Spider-Man No Way Home. There were a lot of these B tier, C tier characters that were coming through, and he fell off the wagon, right? And I was trying to come up with my own list based on the trailer, what I saw. Okay, there's Fantastic Four. You need to watch that. Thunderbolts. You need to watch that. There's that everything. But when Disney put out this list, when Marvel Studios themselves put out this list, I think it was a relief, but there is also a whole lot to unpack based on the movies that they've put in here. Now, just to quickly run over the list, you've got the X-Men from 2000, X2, X-Men United from 2003, which is understandable because we know that this roster of X-Men from the Fox universe is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. Then you've got Captain America, the first Avenger. You've got the Avengers Both of them again understandable because you've got Steve Rogers coming back. You've got I'm just going to put it out there. I've just got a tiny feeling that the Hulk might be in this movie as well. All right. Um, Apart from that, you've got Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity War, again, because it had Thanos, and I've heard a few reports saying that there is a possibility that Thanos might make an appearance, like a very, very tiny, very brief appearance in this movie. Um, and also because the entire multiversal, you know, the concept of the multiverse, it essentially started from Avengers Endgame. It becomes essential viewing. I think Avengers Endgame might be uh, the most crucial, the most essential movie that you need to watch before going into Avengers Doomsday. Because let's not forget, Marvel is also re-releasing Avengers Endgame this year. I think it's the last week of September or the first week of October, and they are going to add some extra footage to it, and there's going to be another post-credit scene, and they are going to kind of tie this Avengers Endgame directly into Avengers Doomsday. So it's kind of important to really be well versed with Avengers Endgame. Apart from that, there is the Loki, which again is important because from a multiversal point of view, that's where we get to know about TVA, we get to know about alternate realities and the multiverse and how it operates. I do have a feeling that Doom might be trying to take over the TVA, so that's another reason why Loki becomes even more important. Then there's going to be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Again, we saw Shang-Chi in the trailer. He's having a one-on-one battle with Gambit, Channing Tatum's Gambit. So I think that's going to be important. Again, it makes me feel like yes, Shang-Chi is going to be an important character in this movie. Like it's not just going to be a 2 minute cameo. Um, Spider-Man: No Way Home, again a multiversal movie. It really showed us another dimension to the multiverse and everything. Then you've got Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and the Fantastic Four: First Steps. Okay, now a lot of these they make sense to me. The only one that kind of is sticking out like a sore thumb at me right now is Captain America: Brave New World. I understand one of the reasons that movie is there is probably because we're going to be seeing Sam Wilson in this movie as well. So yeah, I mean this movie could lay the context on why Sam Wilson is now the Captain America. But again, if you've watched Avengers Endgame, you would already know that Steve Rogers passed on the shield to him, so he's Captain America. Um, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack, but we will be talking about more of this in detail later in this stream. So just hang tight. But what do you guys think about this? Are you excited about this homework? Do you think this list actually makes your life easier, or do you think it only adds to the pressure? Whatever your thoughts, please don't shy away from dropping your thoughts in the comments below. And the next one, D23, which we're going to have a very detailed discussion about later in this live stream, ended up making a lot of big announcements, a lot of big reveals, especially for Marvel fans. But there is another thing that happened at this D23, which happened at San Diego Comic Con as well, which was like last month. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds gate crashed the D23 presentation for Avengers Doomsday with a video. Now, when it happened at San Diego Comic Con, Ryan Reynolds was actually there in person. He took the mic, and that's how he gate crashed. And now Hugh Jackman, again, I'm saying gate crashed, but we all know how heavy-handed these things are, and these are deliberate things. But it feels like Marvel's been teasing that yes, Deadpool and Wolverine are a part of Avengers Doomsday, and this gets me so excited. Of course, seeing this Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, with the X-Men team, with the Fox's X-Men team, is going to be on another level. Deadpool also kind of exists in that reality. Like this Deadpool is from that universe. So I think it would tie in pretty nicely, but I just wanted either give me more details on how Wolverine and Deadpool could be factoring into this movie. What are the stories associated with them? Maybe through, a tiny reveal, a tease or something, or just don't give me anything at all, because if I had seen these two guys on the big screen while I'm sitting for the movie, it would have it would have blown my brains, right? um so I'm just at that stage, like, okay, if it's not going to be a suspense anymore, and you're trying to go so heavy handed with it, might just be out with it and just give everyone a clearer idea of what they may be up to. But what did you guys think about Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds gate crashing D23 after already gate crashing SDCC earlier this year? Please drop your thoughts in the comments. We move on to the next one. And straight from the world of superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we drop into the magical world of Harry Potter. There's been a couple of big developments. The biggest one, though, is Nicholas Holt, who you might have known from Superman last year, where he played the role of Lex Luthor, or you might have known him as Beast from X-Men First Class, has just signed on to play the role of Gilderoy Lockhart in season 2 of the Harry Potter TV series. Now, we know that season 1 is dropping this year. It's going to start streaming in December. And the way HBO is going about it, the way Warner Brothers are going about it, is that every single season is going to be dedicated to a book. And I'm so excited about that, first and foremost, because the movies were decent. I'm one of those guys who's just a literature purist. I will always love the books more than the movies, and that's been my experience across the board with all the movies that have been adapted from books. With Harry Potter specifically, even within the first book, the first movie itself, firstly, the book is called The Philosopher's Stone. God knows why they made the movie calling it the Sorcerer's Stone. Of course, I watched the first one recently with my wife, and I realized that they've tried to make that change from Sorcerer's Stone to Philosopher's Stone by just editing the subtitles. So, what you're listening when you're watching the movie on your TV now, on HBO Max, on Geo Hotstar, whatever the platform, right? You would be hearing Sorcerer's Stone, but the subtitles would be saying Philosopher's Stone. But I digress. So there are those kind of minor changes, right? Another thing was the final set of challenges. So when Harry, Ron, and Hermione are trying to get to the Philosopher's Stone, or trying to get to the Mirror of the Erased, however you pronounce it, right? In the book, every single challenge was from a specific subject that was taught at Hogwarts and was taken over by one of the professors of that subject, right? In the movie, they only showed us half the challenges and left out the other half. So this source material getting adapted as a TV series just allows a bit more space. It allows a bigger canvas to kind of fit everything into it without rushing anything. Like with the movie, um, you've got the restriction, right? That you've got to do everything and pack it in within 2 hours. But with a series, yeah, you can go to an 8 or 10 episode series even, and give every episode an hour each, and that allows you to cover more ground. But this is season 2. Now, season 1 is coming this year, but it points to how positive HBO and Warner Brothers are all feeling about the series, that they've already greenlit a season 2. Usually, with lesser known properties, what happens is that firstly, they'll sign off on a pilot, like, let's see how the pilot performs. And that used to be in the TV days, right? Uh, in the streaming era now, studios and streaming platforms usually greenlight the first season, and then based on the performance of the first season, then they decide whether they want to greenlight a second season, and basically it goes from a season to season. But I think Warner Brothers know the pull of Harry Potter, the pull of this IP, and they've already greenlit a season two early on. It also points to how confident they are about the quality and the performance of this. Just a bit from the article from Variety. The highly anticipated series is due to debut on 25th of December on HBO and HBO Max, with the first season adapting the first book in the novel series Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. The show has already been renewed for second season, which will be based on Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Now, Nicholas Holt is going to be playing the role of Gilderoy Lockhart, which was previously played by Kenneth Branagh in the Chamber of Secrets movie in 2002. This will be Holt's latest appearance in a major franchise. He previously played Dr. Hank McCoy slash Beast in multiple X-Men films and currently plays Lex Luthor in James Gunn's DC Studios films. He originated the latter role in Superman in 2025 and will reprise it in the sequel Man of Tomorrow in 2027. So, all things said and done, Nicholas Holt is making good money from Warner Brothers, which is good for him, but also his quality as an actor. And Gilderoy Lockhart, again, is like, it's such a beautiful character because while on the one hand, he's like extremely manipulative and a lying son of a bitch, but on the other, he is also an absolute coward and, an absolute loser. So for Nicholas Holt to kind of play that character would be really nice because tell you what, I've loved everything that Nicholas Holt has given us so far. Like, even across big franchises, he's played Beast, and in my opinion, Beast is like the least interesting X-Men character for me. But even then, playing that role, and in the moments where the Beast is contemplating if he should just take the medicine that will kill his mutation, if that's a good choice. So Nicholas Holt got to show us a bit of range in that. In Mad Max Fury Road, again, he showed us another range completely. Um, then in Lex Luthor, in last year's Superman, he showed us a completely evil side to him, but also someone who was like really flashy and manipulative and all of that. And this is just going to be a new set of challenge, and I do not doubt his acting ability one bit. So I would be really excited to see what he comes up with. So, what do you guys think about this casting news? Please don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below. And with that down, we move on to the next one. Now, there are very few games. In fact, let me tell you, there is no game that I have bought as a pre release except for this one, and that was Hogwarts Legacy. Look, man, when I first got to know about this game and what it's going to be about, how you can pick your house, and based on what house you're in, the kind of decisions you make, it will change your gameplay, and it's just going to take open world gameplay to another level. I was really excited, and I bought this game. I pre-registered for it and bought it before it even was released to the market, and it's been a great game. I mean, at times it does get a bit exhausting. I'm not a big fan of the entire Forbidden Forest thing, especially with the spiders. But I learned later on that there's a way that you can switch off the spiders in arachnophobia mode. But all things said and done, I think this game is so critical to the world building of Harry Potter, and I just enjoy that game. It's just unfortunate how massive and how expansive the game is that I'm still playing as a Ravenclaw, whereas I want to get a taste of all the other houses as well. But here's a bit of news from IGN here. Hogwarts Legacy 2 is officially in the works, confirms Warner Brothers back to school. The studio confirmed in a recent earnings report that a second installment for Hogwarts Legacy is in the works. No details were provided on what the game will look like or when it might release, but it appears to be a serious focus for the company going forward. In the earnings report, Warner Brothers expected that titles like Hogwarts Legacy 2 will meaningfully contribute to its future revenue. With the first game having released in 2023, it wouldn't be surprising if we see a sequel by late 2028. That's next to next year, if not sooner. While there's certainly room to expand the map, a lot of the heavy lifting has already been done by designing Hogwarts and its surrounding areas. There are likely ways for the team to reuse these assets in order to get the game done faster. However, they may also be afforded more time and resources, to really push the boundaries with the sequel, thanks to the absurd success of the first game. Uh, so yeah, there is the only thing that it got mentioned in the earnings report, but it proves that yes, Warner Brothers is taking this seriously. It's taking this game seriously. I've got one question here though. Is Well, actually, no. You know what? That's not a question. I was just thinking if the game could connect to the Harry Potter TV series in any way, but I don't really see that happening considering how the legacy game happens almost 100 years before the story of Harry Potter begins, right? Um, but yeah, I really like this one quote here, which said that Warner Brother expected that titles like Hogwarts Legacy 2 will meaningfully contribute to its future revenue. Because let's not forget, Warner Brothers ended up making a lot of money off of those Batman games, whether it was Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. Um, they were on the back foot with, with some of their recent releases, like um, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, got terrible reviews, did not perform well, commercially. Apart from that, there was another game that I'm just forgetting about, Gotham Knights. Again, there was a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement around that game. They had some banger trailers that really had people like me intrigued in the game, but again, it did not really live up to the level of an Arkham Knight again, right? Um, but it's good that a company like Warner Brothers still takes gaming seriously. It still considers that gaming is the long term future of entertainment, and they want to continue at it, and they definitely see the potential in an IP like Harry Potter and his Wizarding World. So again, excellent news. And while we are in the Warner Brothers corner, let's move our attention to the world of DC Studios. Now, i'm I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago. Actually, I'm not sure if I even addressed it on the show, but there were talks happening that there would be a Jimmy Olsen show that DC would be producing, that HBO would be producing. Now, for those of you who may not remember, Jimmy Olsen is Clark Kent's best buddy. They work together, and you saw him in last year's Superman. Now we've got a bit more clarity that it is gonna feature Gorilla Grodd, who's gonna be like one of the main characters of of the series, and this comes to us from Deadline. HBO Max's Jimmy Olsen and Gorilla Grodd's Superman spin-off series gets series order and title, and it sets cast. It's official. HBO Max has given an 8 episode straight to series order to its long in the works Jimmy Olsen Superman spin off series from DC Studios and Warner Brothers Television. The half-hour comedy has been titled The People vs. Gorilla Grodd, which is also a meme. It further says Kyler Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen and Jimmy Tatro as Gorilla Grodd headline the series done in a true crime mockumentary style. Hmm. Season 1 will be centered around DC bad guy Gorilla Grodd, who has psychic powers and other skills after his encounter with an alien spaceship. The character was created in 1959 by John Broome and Carmine Infantino and was most recently featured as part of DC's Arrowverse. In The People vs. Gorilla Grodd, a super intelligent ape is convicted of murdering his father, the king of Gorilla City, in an 8 part true crime docuseries. The Daily Planet's Jimmy Olsen reopens the case, investigating whether Gorilla Grodd was wrongly committed in one of Metropolis's most famous murder trials. All right, again, a fair bit to unpack here. Firstly, I've spoken about this enough. This I'm sure of. DC's got a holy trinity. in the form of a Batman, a Superman, and a Wonder Woman. We've got a Superman, and it was a great Superman. Thank you, James Gunn, for that. Thank you, DC, for that. Apart from that, we've got nothing. Nothing, dude. And I'm not sure. Like, am I really gonna be excited about the Jimmy Olsen series? Bet your ass I'm not. In fact, I'm not saying I don't like the character. I loved the character. I loved how he operated in that movie. Felt like very true to the source material as well. You know, how he's a chick magnet and everything. But a standalone series for him while we're still waiting on a Wonder Woman or a Batman or a Justice League is just kind of it feels like they're testing our patience at some level. The other thing though, and I watch John Campia's live streams every night, right? Like it's part of my ritual, it's part of my research. And while this topic was being talked about, there was another guy who actually pointed this out that if Gorilla Grodd is featuring here, there is a high likelihood that we might actually see the Flash in this series as well. Which, okay, man, if you're not if you're not gonna give us a Batman, if you're not gonna give us a Wonder Woman, but you're giving us a Flash, fine, I'll still take it. Now, for those of you who may not be aware, Gorilla Grodd is actually a Flash villain. So, if you're going to have Gorilla Grodd in a series, I'm pretty sure that there is an opening somewhere for the Flash to appear in this DCU. Apart from that, the concept seems pretty wacky. I'm a big fan of mockumentaries, if I'm being honest, like The Office, Parks and Rec, Arrested Development. Some of the best comedy shows ever made in the history of shows have all been mockumentaries. But a true crime mockumentary is something that I'm kind of struggling to contemplate, struggling to understand that how would it really play out. But I'd still be down for it. I still have some hope from DC. Like, apart from Supergirl, I think every other thing that they've put out has been pretty good. It's gotten me really interested. I think it's just with this DC Studios right now under James Gunn and Peter Safran. I think the thing is just for us fans, we need to find that middle path where we do not let our expectations disappoint us, but we still are open enough to be enamored by what DC actually releases. They may not release what we want to see, but if what they release is good enough, I think we can't be asking for more. Um, so that was a bit of positive news, like something that DC said they're gonna put out, but then there's a few things that DC has said, okay, we're not putting these out immediately. Now, this comes to us from Variety. Amanda Waller series and Wonder Woman prequel Paradise Lost no longer in active development at DC Studios. More from the article, Variety has confirmed that both Amanda Waller standalone series with Viola Davis and Paradise Lost, which would serve as a prequel to Wonder Woman, are no longer priorities for the studio and are no longer being actively developed. Waller was first reported to be in the works in May 2022, roughly 5 months before James Gunn and Peter Safran were named the heads of what became known as DC Studios. Paradise Lost, meanwhile, was unveiled as part of Gunn and Safran's initial slate, apologies, of DC projects in January 2023. Waller would have seen Davis return as the character she played in both David Ayer and Gunn's Suicide Squad films. Paradise Lost would have taken place on the island of Themyscira before the birth of Wonder Woman. It should be noted that neither project was ever ordered to series. Again, a fair bit to unpack here. So we had a show that was being spoken about, that was being discussed before the new leadership even took on DC Studios, which was Waller. And again, I've got to say, I love Viola Davis playing the role of Amanda Waller. I mean, she is a mean bitch. And no, I don't mean just to the Suicide Squad. Like, This is the character that I'd like to see her get in Batman's face and actually, put him in his place, or at least try to. So, is it possible that there is a show that was announced before the new leadership took on, and now the new leadership is trying to take the studios in a certain direction, and they just want to be like, okay, maybe that's not important. The other one, Paradise Lost, was actually hinted at by James Gunn himself when he told us about the first chapter in this DC Studios, which he referred to as Gods and Monsters. Now, again, when he named Creature Commandos, when he named the first Superman movie, that's when he took the name of Paradise Lost. And again, in concept, Paradise Lost had me excited because yeah, I do not want to know Themyscira just because of Wonder Woman. I want to know more about that place. And to be frank, I think those were the most exciting bits for me. In Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman as well. Like I wanted to know more about that island. I wanted to know more about their mythology. What their way of life is similar to a Black Panther. Like it is a land that is completely isolated from the rest of the world. It's its own society. So how do they live? How do they communicate? How do they operate? How do they train? What are their what's the value system? What kind of currencies do they have? What does their market look like? What is their normal attack? All of that. There's a lot of potential here. So it's kind of disheartening at some level. Like we had Booster Gold that was again deprioritized for these two shows. Again, let me just clarify, they haven't said that these shows have been cancelled. What's been said is that they have been deprioritized. So um, I think Supergirl was a really good wake up call for DC Studios, because I think DC Studios was running that wave of invincibility. Like whatever they would put out, it will do well. Supergirl was a wake up call in the sense that suddenly DC realized that yes, we need to balance the act. We can't just be relying on derivative characters and just pulling B tier, C tier characters and just relying on them completely. It could work, but you also need to put in some more flagship IPs out there within the DC studios. So again, if an Amanda Waller series or if a Paradise Lost, it gets deprioritized. That means something else gets prioritized. Now, one of the things that's been there's a lot of rumors that's been doing the rounds is that DC has actually put Wonder Woman as their number one priority moving forward. So, pulling funding and pulling resources from these shows to put them into Wonder Woman and trying to get that movie out as soon as possible. I think it's still a fair trade off. So, like, you win some, you lose some. But what do you think about the Jimmy Olsen series, the true crime mockumentary, and what do you feel about Waller and Paradise Lost being deprioritized? Please don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below. And with that down, we move on to the next section of our stream of our episode, which is the watch report. So over here in this tiny section, I talk about the things that I've recently watched, the things that I'm actively watching, and things that I can't wait to watch. So it's been a good week for TV. It's been a good week for TV fans like myself because there's just so much content coming out, and for the most part, every part of it is just living up to our expectations. So, without any further delays, let's get straight into it. The first one is Coach Lasso. Man, Ted Lasso, in my opinion, has to be the best feel good TV show that's ever been made in the history of mankind. That's just how good it is. From season one through three, every character feels really fleshed out. There's not a lot of people who are really running around with bad agendas. Some people are misguided, of course, but no one's like a deep villain, which is such a fresh change because in a world of Game of Thrones and Lex Luthor's and Thanos and Doctor Doom and everything, a show like this is such a nice palette cleanser, a feel good show where it's just people, trying to be nice to each other. So season 1 through 3 were all about the men's team. I spoke about the first episode where, um, the team, the people from, forgetting the name, from AFC Richmond actually fly down to the US to try and convince Ted to take on the job as the coach for the women's team. Um, I'm going to talk about episode 2 and 3. So there might be a bit of spoilers here and there. So please beware. Man, what what an episode! Like both 2 and 3. With the first episode, I was like, okay, maybe they've spent a little more time in the United States. Maybe there's too much silliness happening at the cost of story. And a part of me was also feeling that pressure that we're only gonna get 8 episodes, right? So in 8 episodes, if you spend so much of time within US and not really moving the story forward, um, you're giving other characters and the rest of the story lesser space to breathe. But man, they did not waste any time after that first episode. I still enjoyed the first episode, but in the second episode, you finally see Coach Chilton. It's She's not in this picture, but she's like a female version of Roy Kent. So that's my man right there. That's Roy Kent. Um, Coach Beard is off the rails. He's obviously going through some stuff. There is a very interesting point about feminism also that comes through in that second episode, where Coach Chilton has put in her resignation and she wants to leave the team, but then Coach Lasso comes in and manages to get her to stay on. And again, like, well, there is an entire narrative that is going around the world that people are dumping on good shows just because they're woke, or dumping on good movies just because they're woke. Ted Lasso is woke as hell, man. Like, especially this series about, how they talk about things like feminism, about women in business, about women in leadership positions, um, a woman coach of a women's team. How those dynamics play out. How does a male coach for a female team? How does that dynamic work out? And they've done it beautifully. I enjoyed second episode. It especially ended for me on that high note where we finally get Ted Lasso and Coach Beard sitting together. Coach Beard is having his beer and he's ordered a glass of milk for Ted Lasso. Um, Again, such a feel good moment. Even earlier in that episode, when Coach Lasso meets Roy Kent and they hug it out, man, it's so beautiful in the sense that, see, for me, and it goes for the Bear as well as this show, at some level I've personally connected to these characters. Like, these characters feel like a part of my life. They seem like people that I know. So when they are reunited, it just makes you so happy, so warm and fuzzy on the inside. I really loved it. With the third episode, we finally get into a bit of action. We get to see some football that's starting up, some new characters. I am a big fan of the goalkeeper in this series. She's called Boots, and she's totally off the rails. But man, I'm loving the show. It hasn't dropped a beat. Like, I was really worried after the first 3 seasons. Like, is season 4 really gonna live up to the expectations? And like now that things are changing, is it still gonna be as good as the first 3? And man, I'm not disappointed. Can't wait for the next episode to drop this Wednesday. And I'd be watching that as soon as it drops. The next thing that I want to talk about is Reacher. I've been a big fan of the Reacher character. Like, my first exposure to Reacher was with the Lee Child books. No, actually, before the Lee Child books, the first thing about Reacher was the Tom Cruise movies. So you had Jack Reacher, the first one, and then you had Jack Reacher Never Go Back. I watched those movies because I am a sucker for Tom Cruise. Like, sue me. After those movies, I read, I think, 2 or 3 books from Lee Child. featuring Jack Reacher, and I loved his writing. See, I'm a sucker for these these military thrillers. So whether that's a Frederick Forsyth, a Lee Child, um, a Patterson, all of them. I loved Reacher for the point that how, as a character, he's like this massive mountain of a guy, but he's also sharp as hell. And Alan Ritson is an absolute beauty and a beast. The two of them rolled into one. So I love the first three seasons of this show. There was some dipping points. Like I honestly feel like throughout the Reacher series, even in the first three seasons, there is a bit of a pacing problem. Like at times you feel like, okay, like there are bits and pieces where you feel like they try and take the story somewhere and it doesn't really land, and they kind of deviate for an episode or two off the main highway. I think that's only been amplified a bit more in this season. I've got to say, season four, I'm not liking it as much as the first three. Again, first three are not perfect, but I had a baller of a time. This one, I do feel like, yeah, there's um how do I put it? Like with episode two, yes, there was a lot of back and forth. Like they're in DC and then they're in Philadelphia, then they're in DC and then they're in Philadelphia. That whole thing. Like there's a lot of back and forth and like them traveling to one city and then back to another city, then going there, then here. So it's like that. It kind of seemed stupid. If I'm being honest. Like maybe I just wasn't able to turn off my suspension of disbelief. But my point is that when you're writing a story, when you're writing a plot point, wouldn't it be easier that if this guy is going to the other city to ask someone one question, just one question, and you're driving hours on the road, and then you come back and then you validate that, okay, what he said was true, but okay, I've got another question now. So again, I've got to go back to Virginia. I mean, that was just stupid. That is the bit that I'm not liking. But I gotta say, episode three ended on a brilliant reveal, and I think that reveal finally has me hooked now. So I'm really looking forward to the next episode, which again is going to be dropping on this Wednesday. But if you've been following the Reacher, please don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below on how do you feel the series been working out so far. And the next one, the big one, is Lanterns from DC Studios. Man, first things first, I gotta talk about how awkward and how stupid the the release schedule for the episodes are. See, I think like Wednesday is fine. It's not too bad because even if something drops on a Wednesday, you know that if you can't watch it on a Wednesday, you've just got 2 days. So Friday evening to Sunday night, you've still got a fair bit of time for most people to really catch up on an episode, on the latest episode. Lanterns drops its episodes on HBO Max in the US at 9 p.m. or something, right? In India, that means the episode gets published Monday early morning. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? Nobody, no one on this planet can really start their week on a Monday morning by watching an episode of The Lanterns. And God forbid if you're having a busy week, you're gonna have to sit 5 days until you can actually get to that point where you can finally get some peace and watch an episode. So yeah, I'm not really happy with that. I wish Lanterns was at the bare minimum dropping on a Friday night or like a Wednesday night, like the other streaming platforms. But what do I know? HBO Max probably has their own reasons. But I got to talk about the first episode. Man, was it good? Was it good? This actually ended up becoming the highest rated pilot episode that HBO has ever had in the history. And I'm talking about a studio that's done Game of Thrones, that's done True Detective, that's done so many good shows that for Lanterns to do that well really speaks volumes. I gotta say, there's The we are used to watching superhero shows in a certain way. Like, let's not forget there was an Arrowverse era where every single superhero show almost felt like a soap opera, right? Not a lot of depth, a lot of campy dialogues, and a lot of back and forth that seems really awkward. Like, I've never been a big fan of the Arrowverse. A lot of people have tried, trust me. Then we had the Disney Plus era. So the shows did not feel like soap operas, but they kind of felt like extended movies. Not all good, but you still kind of rolled with it. So with Lanterns, I was kind of on that same frequency that, okay, Lanterns would feel like a superhero movie, but rather than a 2 hour superhero movie, it's going to feel like a 6 hour or a 5 hour superhero movie. And boy, when I watched it, it felt like something very, very different from what I was expecting. Firstly, let me talk about the characters. I wasn't so sure about Kyle Chandler playing Hal Jordan because, hear me out. I've grown up with a certain version of Hal Jordan. I've got a certain image in my mind, and it's not just Ryan Reynolds, right? Like, it's a maverick like pilot who, who's pretty gung ho, but still a good guy at heart. Like, he's not the grumpy gruntled, uh disgruntled guy. But the version of Hal Jordan that we get is so far off from my imagination, and I mean it in a good way. When I was watching the trailers, I was like, I don't know if Kyle Chandler really looks the part, but man, he killed it in this episode. His comic timing, how big of an asshole he is at any given point, deliberately calling John Stewart Jr., or trying to throw his weight around, trying to just justify how insecure he is when it comes to his job as the Green Lantern. Like, he knows that John Stewart is the chosen one for the ring, but he just doesn't want to give up yet. So that was really good. John Stewart as a man, he's calculated, cool as a cucumber. Um, he is kind of everything that Hal Jordan isn't. Like, Hal Jordan as a test fighter pilot, he's that maverick dude, basically. Always jumping first and thinking later, always. Um, stirring shit up before actually figuring out, like, what is the outcome that he wants. Whereas for John Stewart, the thing is, this guy would not let anything on. He doesn't. He only speaks as much as required, not too much. uh, doesn't expose a lot, doesn't let on much, but he is a silent observer, notices things, even the smallest of details. So I gotta say, man, I loved it so much. I just can't wait for the next episode, which is, as much as I've shit on how I'm not a big fan of those Monday morning drops. um, I'm glad that we're only less than 24 hours away from the next episode. But the only bad thing being that once the episode drops, I've got to wait almost an entire week until I can talk about it, which also means that I lose some talking points because there's so many days in between. But nevertheless, I loved it. Especially, I've got to call this out. The note that the first episode ended on is like, it was so unexpected. It was so wacky. I don't know where they're gonna go from here. But truth be told, I really loved the first episode. It's raised my expectations. I hope they're able to continue on this trajectory and give us an amazing show, because DC really needs a win right now. So, if you guys have watched the first episode of Lanterns, what did you think about it? Who was your favorite character? What are you most looking forward to from this show? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below. And with that down, we talk about the final thing on my watch list, on my watch report this week, which is this latest Jason Statham movie called Mutiny. Um, Dude, I'm a sucker for Jason Statham. I love this guy with all my heart. He is, for me, the coolest action hero that I've had in my life. Like, of course, there were others, but those were before I grew up. Jason Statham is the action star that I grew up with. Um, and man, he plays a mean badass in every single movie. So I was kind of excited for this movie. I saw the trailer. It did not give me a lot, but it was still like a decent trailer, and it was Jason Statham. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go for this movie. I went to the theater yesterday to watch this movie, and in all its glory, this movie was a nothing burger. This movie has absolutely no substance to it. What really helped this movie, though, is that A, it's got Jason Statham in it, and B, that the movie is only 1 hour 35 minutes. It would have been a real struggle if this movie was running on for 2 hours, because truth be told, this movie did not really have any substance to it. Like, not in the story, not in the screenplay, not not even in the characters. Like, I don't think I was personally invested in any of the characters in this movie. And here's the thing, right? Like, my favorite Jason Statham movies, whether it's the work that he did with Guy Ritchie, with Snatch, with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, whether it's all the action stuff that he did in the form of Transporter, The Mechanic, um Wrath of Man, even. Uh, I'm a big fan of this dude, but I don't really feel like this movie really leveraged the excellence of Jason Statham in any capacity. So I don't really have a lot to share about this movie, but yeah, maybe wait for it to come on streaming and then you can probably watch it. But I'd really not recommend you spending your hard-earned money to go and catch this in the theater, unless you're a big-time Statham fan, like myself. But again, I'm a big Stardom fan, and this movie kind of felt like a letdown. So maybe just skip it. You're better off that way. So that was the watch report. And next up, we go into the biggest, heaviest section of this video, which is the Bard's Take. Now, a little bit about Bard's Take. So this is the editorial section of this video, right? Where I talk about the biggest thing, the thing that really got my attention, thing that I feel has a lot to unpack, and it's more than just one movie or one show. It's about a studio, about the industry, about a certain trend that I've observed. And for today's Bard's Take, what we got to talk about, which I was originally intending to talk about last weekend, and on the last Sunday show, but I could not, so I'm gonna do it today. And that is Disney's biennial expo called D23. Now, what I mean by biennial is a presentation and expo, something that happens once every 2 years. So for Disney, San Diego Comic Con happens every year. There are other events. CinemaCon happens every year, but D23 once in 2 years, and it is more geared towards their investors, especially. Um, it is only recently that they've started bringing on their fans as well. So let's get into this. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna bring on this another article where we've got everything that went down at D23 this year. And man, I think I need to get some water. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just gonna take a second here. Get some water. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Anyone who thinks live streaming is easy, just talking for 2 hours, you guys don't know half of it. It's such a challenge to speak for 2 hours straight and not even have the time to drink water. All right, so let's get straight into it. So this, for this purpose, I am referring to Deadline. They're an authority when it comes to pop culture and the biggest movie news. So and they're pretty spot on for the most part. So firstly, this is the headline that they put up: everything announced at D23, new X-Men cast, Avengers Doomsday teaser, Coco 2, Tangled, live action first look, and more. Um, all right. So they've basically published this entire list, and I'm just gonna go through it. And if you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments, and I can take them on as we go. D23, the ultimate Disney fan event, brought a lot of surprises and first looks of what the entertainment company is preparing in the following months and years. Taking place over 3 days in Anaheim, California, Disney kicked off the weekend with a showcase that teased what is to come and updates from Avengers Doomsday, the Star Wars franchise, the new X-Men cast, a teaser for the new season of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, as well as first looks at the live action Tangled adaptation, Coco 2, Oswald, and the Bluey movie, among many others. Now, let me just put it out there. There are bits that I am excited about. Um, and then there are bits that I am either not excited about or I don't really have any opinion on. So I would be skipping through some of them, but if you really want to know everything, I would strongly recommend this article. I'm also gonna pop the link for this in the description so you can check it out after the live stream is done. So starting off with Incredibles 3 from Pixar. Pixar's Peter Doctor teased The Incredibles 3, which will focus on the two eldest kids, Violet and Ash, as they prove themselves capable of following in their parents' footsteps. He said they want to prove that they are ready to be real supers and their parents aren't quite so convinced. So they've been sneaking out at night to protect the city, and it doesn't go over so well at home. No, it doesn't always. To make matters worse, they are struggling to contain Jack Jack, doctor said. A new threat is taking a heavy toll on Bob, who's grappling with his own relevance in a world of supers that may have outgrown him. Because even though supers are legal again, that doesn't mean all supers are good. Peter Son directs the Brad Bird written threequel. Craig T. Nelson returns as Papa Superhero. Bob Parr, Sarah Vowell is daughter Violet Parr, Huck Milner is Dash Parr. Um, Man, I'm excited for Incredibles. Um, Incredibles is, I think, one of those movies that comes from Pixar, which doesn't like completely wreck you the way Coco or Up does. So, it's a really fun movie. I've really enjoyed the first two. Like the first one was just on another level, but even the second one was really good. With this one also, I think I'd be down for it. There's not a lot for me to unpack or share here, but I'm really glad. I'm really glad that we're getting a third one. And yeah, let's see how it turns out. The other one is Kingdom Hearts, the series. I do not know a lot about this. I'm not even gonna lie. So Disney's greenlit a Kingdom Hearts series based on the game created by Tetsuya Nomura. The series reimagines the iconic adventure with a brand new story that will expand on the Kingdom Hearts universe while celebrating the characters that have entertained millions of fans around the world. Um, then there's another one from Pixar which is called Ghost Market. Um, okay, and the name sounds kind of interesting. I just want to know what it is about. Pixar's new animated film Ghost Market was previewed at E23 with the release expected for 28, which is next to next year. Trevos Jimenez and Jesse Andrews are set to co direct the film. Footage today showed a young boy, Kyle, walking into a dark, empty kitchen. He's just been forced to move to Hawaii by his family. He finds a bowl of warm soup that's been readily made, but it's a spooky place. Hey, do you guys take Apple Pay? He asks. Bro, that is such a meta joke. In a Pixar movie, like, hey guys, do you take Apple Pay? Because in case you did not know, the guy who founded Apple, for your iPhone and Apple Music and everything, is the same guy who also started the Pixar studio. So that's a pretty nice meta joke, if I'm being honest. Um, we then see him on FaceTime telling us that the movie is about hungry ghosts and that Ghost Market isn't like those other scary movies. I mean, I'd give Pixar the benefit of the doubt because what they managed to do with Monsters Inc. and Monster University. It's like even concepts like these, they're able to add a lot of meat, to these topics. So I think I'd be down for it. I'm not like as hyped as I'm for an Avengers Doomsday or something, but I'd be down for this movie. Like, I'd definitely check it out in the theaters. Next up is Coco 2 preview. uh Bro, firstly, I gotta say that first Coco movie was such a banger. It's like one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. It still hits me in the gut just as much as when I watched it the first time. So we're getting a second one. Pixar previewed Coco 2, which is set to bow in November 2029. So it's like a fair way off, man. That's like 3 years. So it's like, why would they announce a movie like that far in advance? I mean, I understand it could be in development, but there's going to be a D23 in 2028 as well. So I think it would have been better off covered there. But I love the first one. I'd be down for the second one. Let's see what they say. At D23, it was confirmed that Benjamin Bratt would reprise his role as Ernesto de la Cruz. Sketches of the new film tease that Miguel is no longer a boy and is now a teenager. He's a little menace who ruined a career and destroyed a legend, said Bratt. Ernesto de la Cruz is back for revenge, proving that fate has twists. Okay, and we've got some photos here. First look photos at Coco 2 revealed at D23, which will follow a teenage Miguel. Benjamin Bratt reprises his role coming in November 2029. Okay. Man, I love the fact that they've given Miguel a fade here now. So yeah, this is a movie I'm really excited for. Like, I'm definitely checking this movie out. Like, at any even if they hadn't given us anything, I would have still gone for Coco 2. The next one is Bluey movie teaser trailer. Um, Bluey isn't exactly in my space or my area of interest, so I'm just gonna skip this one. It's gonna release on 6th of August next year. So if you're into Bluey, good luck. I hope you have a great time at the cinema. The next one is the Tangled live action first look. Now, I know this has been a really popular property with some of my nieces and my younger cousins, like who grew up watching Tangled, the animated one. Tangled and Frozen, I think, are like the two biggest IPs in this space. Um, I'm not much into it, but I think if it's good, I'd still go check it out. So the article says audiences at D23 got a first look at Tangled, the live action adaptation of the Disney animated film with Tegan Croft as Rapunzel. The film will hit theaters on 31st of March 2028, so next year. Um, Tegan Croft, I think, is the lady who played Raven in Titans on Netflix. Not a big fan, but that was ages ago, man. She might have uh, really gone on to do other things and really improved her acting. But yeah, if it's good, I might check it out. Now, this is the stuff that I'm really excited about. Percy Jackson and the Olympian season 3 teaser trailer. Percy Jackson and the Olympian star Walker Scobell took the stage at the Honda Center to present the trailer for season 3 of the Disney Plus series. Scobell talked to Deadline at D23, where he teased that the new season is the darkest one yet. Yep, totally on point with that. Third book also got really dark suddenly. This season is a lot darker than any season we've had before, he said. I think at least for Aaron, Leah, me, Charlie, everyone that's always coming back, every season is awesome because we just get another chance to do it again. He continued, season 2 was coming out while we were filming season 3, so we would get live updates on what people would think we could do better, and we would just do it better. So it was really awesome to get to do that. It's fun. Okay. Man, I was really excited when they announced that Disney Plus was gonna do a Percy Jackson and the Olympians in a TV show format. I had the similar, I had exactly the same views that I had when I was talking about Harry Potter earlier. That when you're adapting books, and especially like these child fantasy books, doing them as TV shows really allows you a lot of space to uh, go deeper into these characters, their stories, even go into the smaller moments. I think the first season was really good for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I still felt like they took a few wild swings. They omitted a few things pretty conveniently, if I'm being honest. Um, Season two was a drag. Um, see, the second book wasn't my favorite, and it clearly reflected in the show as well. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the second season. I really had to drag my feet through that one. The third one, though, I am excited. I think they're gonna, like Scobell said, they're actually gonna make do on improving a lot of things that weren't so well done in season two. But one of the things is it's really interesting where he said that where is it? Yeah. Season two was coming out while we were filming season three, so we would get live updates on what people think we could do better. Here is another thing, man. Scobell has had a growth spurt, man. I mean, the first season of Percy Jackson, you actually look at him like a child. He's got that innocence about him. His voice isn't broken yet. This road's grown up just like that, in an instant. So yeah, Disney really has a fair bit of ground to cover before Scobell gets his driving license. So yeah, I think they'd really have to get their pedals to the floor and be done with Percy Jackson as soon as problem. Otherwise, they might be running into exactly the same kind of problem that they ran into with the Percy Jackson movies. That the star of the movie, the actor, was just getting old, and the production pace could not keep up with the teenagers aging up. But yeah, I'm excited for this, man. I've watched the first two season. I'm definitely gonna be watching this one as well. The next one is Oswald. I've heard a fair bit about this. Not gonna lie, not the most exciting thing for me, but still gonna be worth checking it out. So it says John Favreau took the stage at D23, the ultimate Disney fan event, to give audiences a first look at Oswald, a three-part series streaming on Disney Plus in February 2027. I am not sure if they say a three-part series. Does that mean it's a season that's just gonna have three episodes, or is it like they're gonna have three seasons in the series? I'm not sure what it means. Um. Oh, okay. They've given us nothing else here. So one of the things that I had read up on Oswald was that this was one of the first original characters that Walt Disney had ever created, along with Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse obviously became far more popular. So Disney sold the rights for Oswald to Universal Studios, and they've recently retained the rights to Oswald. And now they're gonna do a show about this. So I'm not sure. Like, the animation looks a little funky. Like, it looks more like live action animation, if I'm honest. But yeah, I mean, if it's not going to be too intense, I think I might dabble in this as well. But yeah, then there's Romy and Michelle too. I of course have zero interest in this. I don't know anything about this. Lisa Kudrow and Mira Sorvino reprise their role high school reunion roles. uh Duo completed filming the sequel. uh yeah, no, not for me. Then there's Ice Age Boiling Point. Man, I've got a question here. I remember watching the first Ice Age again. It was such a tearjerker towards the end. The second one was decent, and after that, I just lost track. I don't even know how many there are. Like, does does anyone remember how many Ice Age movies we've had until this point, because I've lost track, man. Like, I don't think I've watched more than three or four. But yeah, I've definitely grown out of this franchise. Let me do a quick search. How many Ice Age films are there? Oh, okay. So there's one. So there's Ice Age: The Meltdown, Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs, Ice Age: Continental Drift, Ice Age: Collision Course, Ice Age: Adventures of Buck Wild, and then there's Ice Age: Boiling Point. And there's also another one which called No Time for Nuts. Oh wow, dude. Yeah. Will hit theaters on 5th of February 2027. Man, I've seriously got zero interest in this. Like, um, I hope they let that franchise rest for a bit. There's going to be a Lilo and Stitch too. I suppose this is the live action one. Lilo and Stitch star Maya Kealoha teased that the live action sequel is set to premiere on 28th of May 2028 and features Stitch's pink friend Angel. This looks fun, looks exciting. Lilo and Stitch was also like one of the few movies that breached the $1 billion mark last year. So of course the live action did really well. I've been a big fan of the animation one. I still think that movie holds up today as well. Um, I haven't compared the animated and the live action in that regard. But yeah, I think this movie is gonna do well as well. Again, my point being that no, but this is 28th of May 2028. So yeah, that makes sense. It's gonna happen before the next D23. So for them to put out an announcement, it's a good call. Yeah, I'm gonna be interested in that. Then there's another one, Gatto, a new look. I've been learning Italian recently, not that any of you care. Um, and while I've been learning Italian, I got to learn that gatto means cat um, in Italian. Cano means dog. Just a couple of free Italian lessons for you on the live stream. So um, let's talk about this gatto, a new look. A new look at Gato was teased at D23. The Disney and Pixar film is set for release on 5th of March 2027. I see. There's not a lot to go off on right here, but I've got to say, like, this animation looks so cool. Like, it actually looks like something that's done with watercolors and stuff. It's fascinating in that sense. Like, um, it's not just the story of what it is about, but I find the animation styles pretty interesting as well. So I'd actually be keen on watching this. We don't even know like where this movie is gonna take place, and just from where I'm looking at it, the animation style kind of reminds me a bit of Disney's Anastasia. I don't know if you've watched that movie. I had an uncle who brought me a VHS cassette for that when I was what 4 or 5 years old. So still. Now, this is the really, really, really meaty part. The new X-Men cast has been confirmed. Now, we've had a few names that have started popping, but then at D23, they straight up gave us three big names. And it seems like the roster is shaping up pretty well. The cast of the X-Men reboot was confirmed at D23. News of the cast comes after it was released that Sadie Sink played the role of Jean Grey in Spider Man Brand New Day. At the Disney fan event, Adam Driver was finally confirmed in the role of Nathaniel Milbury. That is Mr. Sinister. Um, I wasn't so sure about Nathaniel Milbury. Like, I'm aware of the name Nathaniel Essex, which is one of the aliases that he uses. Milbury was something left field for me. Uh, Chris Abbott has also been tapped to join the Mutants as Charles Xavier, aka Professor X. Other additions included Indy Navarrete as Rogue and Maya Boyd as Storm. Deadline has previously broken the news that Samara Weaving will play Emma Frost and Kit Connor is aboard to play Cyclops. Those castings were also confirmed Friday. The film is set to be released on 5th of May 2028, so next year. We're less than 2 years away, so yeah, I can wait that long. But yeah, I spoke about a few of these castings last weekend. Um, I did talk about Kit Connor playing the role of Cyclops, the leader of the X Men, like the field leader of the X Men. Um, and I spoke about Samara Weaving, a bit about Sadie Sink, but of course, now that it's out in the public, she's actually made her first appearance as Jean Grey as well. I beg your pardon. Um, so yeah, but the rest of the cast, I think it looks really interesting. Of course, I do not know a ton about all of these guys. Indy Navarrete has been a part of a lot of conversations this year because she was in this little movie called Obsession that dropped earlier this year, and I've heard nothing but great things about that movie. I've been seeing it pop up on my feed on Prime for the last few days, so I might actually give it a watch. Um, See, here's the good thing. Unlike when Marvel hires a big ticket actor to play a big ticket role, um, it comes with expectations and like there's like the fan starts dictating to the studio how they want it to play out. Um, but when it comes to a team like the X Men, even when you went back to the original one in the 2000s or X Men First Class, apart from Charles Xavier or Magneto, all the other actors were lesser known, extremely talented, but not as famous. Like Hugh Jackman, nobody really knew anything about that dude at that stage. The guy who played Cyclops in that one, I'm just forgetting his name right now. Um, but yeah, you know who I'm talking about, right? Like he was still a fresh kid on the block who was still trying to get his kicks and everything. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to let go of that. I've got to search the name for that guy. James Marsden. Yep, that's it. That's it. James Marsden is the name. So even with X Men First Class, yeah, James McAvoy was a big name at that stage. Nicholas Holt was still coming up. Like he wasn't like a big ticket star at that stage. Who else? The guy who played Magneto, Michael Fassbender. Again, he was becoming this hot property at that stage. I wouldn't say he had arrived on the scene by then, but he was still building a reputation for himself. Similarly, if I'm talking about specifically the MCU, you had a guy play Iron Man who became the backbone of MCU for the next 10, 11 years, who was just coming out of a drug rehabilitation and just trying to reinvent his image. Chris Evans, not a lot of people knew about him, except for all the rom-coms that he did. Nobody knew about Chris Hemsworth except for the Aussies who were watching. What's the name of that Aussie show? That show is basically called the breeding ground for Aussie Hollywood stars. So even someone like Margot Robbie came through that show. So the thing being that you've had these smaller actors or lesser known actors, but really talented people who came to the MCU and suddenly became these mega superstars. So I think in that sense, it's been a great call. There are no big names here, on this screen. And I think it allows these actors to really breathe. It allows these characters to develop. rather than be bogged down by the reputation of the actors playing them. um, and with an X-Men team just like the Avengers, I think the most important thing is that you need to see that, um what's the word, you need to be able to see that chemistry between these different characters. And the biggest problem with the X-Men movies from the 2000s, First Class did it a lot better. But with the original X-Men movies, it just felt like all the focus was on just these three characters, basically, which was Magneto, Charles Xavier, and Wolverine. Basically, everyone else was just window dressing. Uh, but when everyone is talented, like just looking at this picture, if everyone is talented, but they're not too famous, I think it gives everyone an even chance of shining in that movie. So that was X Men. Um, yep. And then a bit of Star Wars as well. We've got Ahsoka season 2 trailer. Again, I've been trying to get, not trying to, I'm actually into Star Wars, but I think these adjacent properties like Ahsoka and the Book of Boba Fett and stuff, it really doesn't intrigue me. Um like I said, I'm not a purist. I'm not like the guys who's been with Star Wars since it started. Of course, I wasn't even born then. um but it's just I'm not interested in these characters. Ahsoka Tano doesn't really um invoke any interest in me whatsoever. Even having seen her in the Mandalorian, the TV show, I'm not really keen on that. But it's gonna come out. I'm just gonna quickly give you the detail. When is it releasing? Okay. Nothing. I think we got to watch the trailer. But if this is something that's interesting to you, of course, you can go to this article. I'm going to pop the link in the description, just letting you guys know again. So you can check it out for yourself. Now, this is the mega stuff. This is what I'm excited about. So we've had a Vision Quest trailer. This is the first proper trailer that we've had for a show that we've known for a really long time is going to be dropping this year. I also spoke about this earlier this year when I was doing, these complete lists of what's coming from MCU, what's coming from DC Studios. This was on the list. I'm going to talk in detail about the trailer a little later in this live stream, but just have a quick look at what it says here. Audiences at D23 got the first look at Vision Quest, the WandaVision spin-off set to premiere on Disney Plus on 14th of October. So a month and a half, I think, yeah, something like that. So not too far off. Paul Bettany stars as Vision, a former Avenger who was introduced in 2015's Age of Ultron, killed in the 2018 Infinity War film, but was resurrected without emotions or memories. And we had the very, very famous, very popular ship of Theseus exchange in that show, right there. Vision Quest also features James Spader as Ultron, Todd Stashwick as the morally ambiguous mercenary paladin, and Farhan Tahir reprising his role of Raz from the MCU Kickstarter pick Iron Man. Ooh, I do not know who that is. Let me just do a quick search. Okay. Okay. I think they meant Raza, not Raz. So Raza is the guy who basically was keeping Tony Stark in that cave. Um, if he's coming back, I'd be down for it. The cast also includes Lauren Murray, Diane Morgan, Orla Brady, Polly Frame, Henry Lewis, Jonathan Sayer, with Emily Hampshire and James Darcy. Um, Again, this was such a good trailer, man. This was such an amazing trailer that I've got to talk about it a little later, so I'm not derailed here. But it's coming on the 14th of October, so keep your eyes peeled for that and just look at that, man. Looks so beautiful. The next one, Star Wars Starfighter first look. I did try and check it out, but apparently this first look was exclusively for the attendees of D23. So anyone outside of the premises, anyone who did not attend D23, we do not get to see that first look yet. Although I'm not excited about Ahsoka Tano. I was decently excited about Mandalorian and the Grogu. But Starfighter seems something that is totally, totally up my alley. Because tell you what, give me a movie that's all about aerial combat, that's about fast cars and fast bikes, fast racing. I'd be down for that. And especially if it isn't Star Wars. Like, I think it was Star Wars Episode 1. Yeah, I think it was Episode 1. Did not love that movie. I'm going to put it out there. I did not love Episode 1. But that entire racing sequence, I was in love with that. And again, there's nothing that's more exciting than a cocky fighter pilot. We've seen that with Hal Jordan. We've seen that with Maverick in Top Gun, and I am feeling that we're gonna get something similar, and I'd still be down for that, man. So what it says here in the article: Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling made an appearance at D23 to give more details on Star Wars Starfighter. Gosling plays a pilot, Cade, and the footage begins with Flynn Gray's young man walking into a rusty spaceship garage. He uncovers a spaceship. Gosling's Cade enters and says, "Didn't I tell you not to touch anything?" Um, yeah, no, I'm not gonna click on those. I actively try and avoid using Twitter at all costs. But yeah, I'm really excited for Starfighter. Like, this is something that I feel is an easier entry back into Star Wars for me. Like, I don't want to watch the clones. I'm done with the clones. I'm done with Ahsoka Tano. I'm done with those other B tier, C tier characters. Like, this looks like it is something original. And not to forget, this movie is releasing next year on the 50th anniversary of the first Star Wars movie that was ever released, um, which was Star Wars Episode 4. I think it's called A New Hope. I don't want to get that right. I don't want to get that wrong and feel like an idiot later on. So I'm just gonna confirm the name. What was it called? Yeah, it was called A New Hope. So I actually got it right. I actually got it right. Well done, said. Um, so yeah, there was that. Uh, Next up is Hex, Jodie Foster, and Walton Goggins added to voice cast. Um, yeah, they've also got Haley Steinfeld in here. I don't have any idea about this. It's an animated movie or what? Yeah, it's an animated movie. I might give it a watch actually. Not something that I would put on my calendar, but I'd still give it a watch, I think. The film is set to be released on Wednesday, 25th of November. Uh, Is that this year? Is that this year? I just got to confirm, man. Because if it's releasing this year, that's like, um, yeah. So it is this year. Well, good, good. I mean, I might actually go and check it out. I don't know, unless there's not something that's even bigger than this playing in the theaters. Uh, I might give it a watch. In a film set to be released on Wednesday, 25th November, Foster plays the role of Queen Celeste, while Goggins plays Beef Roger, a three-eyed green cat who dons a pink coat and is the witch's sidekick. Not a lot of detail, but still, it's fine. Then Disney's Zootopia 3. Man, this is the one that I'm really excited about. I remember going to the theater to watch Zootopia 2. Hadn't watched the first Zootopia even. I went to watch the second one, and dude, it was a riot. The movie is like, um it's so crazy. Like, for me, it sits in the world. It sits in the similar category as a Flintstones or a Jetsons, where it is just an alternate reality, where it's just, a world of animals. And even like Shrek, I think Shrek did it really well, where they actually created um a world of fairy tales. So similar to that, this was just all about animals. So you've got a swamp land where it's just the alligators and everything. I loved it. I loved the second one. I am down for this. um a third installment of Zootopia was confirmed at D23, with Ki Huai Kwan and Jennifer Goodwin set to reprise their roles. So Ki Huai Kwan actually played the role of the serpent, the viper, and Jennifer Goodwin, I think, is the bunny. Um, yeah, so I'd be down for that, man. I'm excited. The next one, the one thing that most people were actually waiting for in this one, um, Avengers Doomsday new teaser. Uh, it wasn't a new teaser. It's not a teaser, and they're calling it a special look. It's not a special look. This was actually a trailer that Marvel showed at Comic Con, at San Diego Comic Con earlier this year. They did not release it to the rest of the world. So the trailer that you and I saw before this one, that was in the trailer that they showed at Comic Con. And anyone who saw it at Comic Con, bro, it blew their brains off. That was how good it was. And man, I loved this trailer because they tried to they tried to build up Kang the Conqueror in this way. In Loki, in these other, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which is a bad movie. It's just a terrible movie, terrible excuse of a movie. Kang really wasn't sticking. Doom, there was excitement initially because, okay, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing him. Then we got to look at his suit, and yeah, it's a pretty sick looking suit. But man, this is the trailer where we actually get to see why Doom is such a big bad guy that scares the living hell out of everyone. But I'm going to talk about this later in detail in the trailer watch. So please stick around. I want to talk any more on this. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Haley Atwell take the stage at D23 for Avengers Doomsday. So Haley Atwell plays the role of Captain Britain. The lady Peggy Carter. Um, so she's gonna be in there. Hugh Jackman asks for a role in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday with the help of Ryan Reynolds, further teasing a potential Deadpool and Wolverine appearance. I spoke about this earlier in the news watch, bro. It's just getting a little too obvious at this stage. So might as well just give it to us officially and tell us that Deadpool and Wolverine are gonna be in the movie. Have them make an appearance in the next trailer, maybe. I'm pretty certain, like, we're in July, August, September, October, November. We're still like 4 months away. So I'm pretty certain we're gonna get at least two more trailers. So yeah, just give them to us. Like, no point tiptoeing around it anymore. Next up is Frozen 3. Again, like I said, Tangle and Frozen 3 and Frozen are, two such Disney IPs that have done exceptionally well among young girls, kids. Um, with my nieces, my younger cousins, it really was a hit. They're going to do an animated Frozen 3, which undoubtedly it's going to do so well. Kristen Bell confirmed at Disney's D23 Entertainment Showcase on Friday night that Anna will be marrying her mountain man, Kristoff, played by Jonathan Groff, in the upcoming threequel, of course, with her sister Elsa by her side. Um, okay. Yeah, there's no release date on this, is there? Yep, nothing. Then there's the Imagineering Story Season 2. Um, I don't know, man. I haven't watched this. I don't know what It's even about, I'm sorry, insight into how some of their favorite attractions at the theme parks are made. And I got it. I know what this is about. I think it popped up on Geo Hotstar, like while I was browsing through something, and I saw this. Like it had one season, and it was about attractions. I think I put this on my watch list. I'd really be down to watch this, man. Looks interesting. Then there's Remember Dreams Come True fireworks at Disney and OG Water of Colors. Da, da, da. Space Mountain, that's another ride. Yeah, I'm just gonna. I'm actually searching for one thing particularly. It's not in the rides. Okay, they haven't put it in the article, but there was also a brief presentation about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and man, that looked fantastic. Like it really seemed exciting because I love that show, right? That animated Spider-Man show that popped up on Disney Plus. I think they did the first season last year. um, really loved it. I wasn't a big fan of it when they were trying to promote it and they started giving out the first footage, because the animation kind of seemed off to me. Like I wasn't, the colors and the animation style, it just felt a little clunky. But once the show actually released, uh, I almost immediately got over it. Like after the first 5 minutes, I think I was totally in sync with the animation style. And I was really invested in that world and the characters and everything. If you haven't watched it, strongly recommend it. I strongly recommend that you watch the first season. They've announced the second season. It's gonna release in January next year, if I'm not mistaken. Season 2 of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus and Geo Hotstar. We're also gonna get a look at the symbiote suit. There's Doc Ock. There was like a really tiny footage that we had, but strongly recommend that if you're a Spider-Man fan, you go give it a watch. You're gonna fall in love, and then there's a season 2 coming up. So that was all from our big feature, which we call the Bard's Take. Now let's go back into our usual programming. And what I've got here is the trailer watch, the trailer reaction, right? So it's the biggest trailers of the week or the last 2 weeks. I give you my reactions, the hype, the goosebumps, the verdict. Uh, Man, there's been just two trailers that have hogged all my attention, and I just can't seem to move past them to talk about anything else. Um, First one, Avengers Doomsday, the second trailer. Man, the first trailer, when I even spoke about it, I think at the live stream, on the Sunday show, I did it, and I was like, yeah, it's a good trailer, but it's just had me more relieved than excited, because I'm relieved because there was something tangible about Avengers Doomsday that I could actually go about. Like, okay, yeah, this movie is actually coming out. Now I've got some element of tangibility to prove to myself that yes, it's coming out. But apart from that, I don't think that trailer really did a lot or added a lot to the discourse. Of course, um, they gave us a look at some of the teams, some of the characters that gonna be in there. They gave us a brief view of Yelena fighting Mystique, a brief battle between Gambit and Shang-Chi. But apart from that, there really wasn't a whole lot more that we hadn't seen in those mini trailers already. The ones that they had started releasing from December last year, tagging it after Avatar. No, Avatar Fire and Ash. But this was the trailer, dude. This was Avengers, man. I gotta say, rather than anyone else talking about Doom, this one allowed Doom to announce himself on why he is such a big villain and why he is someone that everyone is scared of. There's like these two or three lines, right, in this. One is where Vanessa Kirby's character, right, Susan Storm, is actually talking about how uh, Victor was the smartest guy that they'd ever come across. And then he lost his mother, and everyone felt, and we felt, I think she says, um, that Victor was lost, but we never realized he was broken, right? So that's one. While Doom is doing his other stuff, right? Then there's another one where um, Mr. Fantastic, Pedro Pascal plays that role of Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, and he keeps asking Doom, right? Uh, Victor, did you do this? Victor, tell me, did you do this again? Those emotionally raising the stakes of the trailer with every passing beat, and I have to say it's like one of the best Marvel movie trailers that we've ever had. Um, and then the final one is when Thor is running in his direction, and he's like, you know, you're gonna be begging for hell long before I'm done with you. And like it is such a solid dialogue, right? Like it's got so much of angst and anger and authority filled into it that you're gonna be asking for help before I'm even done with you. That is how hard I'm gonna beat you. And the other person, Victor Von Doom, rather than standing down or whatever, responds with, hell answers to me because I am Doom. Bro, I love those dialogues. I cannot emphasize this enough. I love those dialogues. And this is the trailer that's really sold me on this movie. Because let's be honest, before that, I was just looking at Doomsday as a pre Secret Wars movie. I was looking at Doomsday as I was looking at not an Infinity War, because I didn't know that Infinity War would end the way it did. But I had this thing that like Doomsday is gonna be fine, but Secret Wars is gonna be the real deal because the roster is gonna get bigger, and that's where the resolution is. But I am down for Avengers Doomsday. I don't care about anything else. Nothing else. Steve Rogers, Thor, Red Guardian, and the biggest, baddest dude of them all, Victor Von Doom. Bro, love this trailer. What did you think about it? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below. And the second trailer that I want to talk about, not as big of an event as Avengers Doomsday, but still big nonetheless. And that was Vision Quest. I was feeling a little jittery. Like I knew that this show was going to drop somewhere around October, and we hadn't heard anything about it. There was no chatter, no discussions, no reveals, nothing at all about Vision Quest. And also, we know that Marvel TV's been kind of coming under the fire for the last few months. Like, there's been a lot of chatter around how they're going to be restricting projects and stuff like that. This Vision Quest trailer just blew the lid off of my brains. Because, man, I've got to say, when WandaVision was coming out, rather than excited, again, WandaVision was just a fix for me while I wasn't getting anything Marvel related. Like, I hate to admit it, guys. I am a Marvel addict. Sometimes I do need help. It's not overly healthy to be so invested in a certain superhero cinematic universe, but I am. So when COVID started and we hadn't been getting anything, nothing was getting announced, and the only thing that we would be getting was WandaVision. The trailer was really wacky. Like, I did not understand a single thing on what that show was going to be about. But when it started streaming, man, I love that show. Even till now, I think it holds its spot in the top three Disney Plus shows that's ever been done. But like I mentioned earlier, this was supposed to be a trilogy, right? So there's got to be the first one, of course, is WandaVision. The second one is Agatha All Along, and Vision Quest is the final show in that trilogy. I said this in the Marvel recap, not the Marvel recap, the Marvel expectations video that I did earlier this year, that what all is going to be coming. I explained a bit about what Vision Quest would be about. The biggest selling point was that it is going to be in a, an augmented slash real world reality. Like it's such a it's such an interesting premise, it's such an interesting place to be in, but then to also have all of these other artificial intelligences just kind of interacting with each other. Um, so Ultron, of course, the big bad played by James Spader, Mr. Johnny Hollywood himself, um, again had the potential to be the best Marvel villain that's ever been done. I feel like he was really, yeah, he did not get justice in that movie. So, but I was really excited that you've got him, you've got Vision, who used to be an AI at one point. He used to be Jarvis, right? You've got Friday, and you've got Edith, and I'm not sure if they've got Edith, but like all of these different AIs that Tony Stark was using are actually living in that augmented reality and interacting with each other. I was interested. I was looking forward to this show because the entire WandaVision trilogy, it hasn't disappointed. Even Agatha All Along was so good. With this trailer coming in, man, firstly, I gotta say, I love James Spader as an actor. The, his voice has a certain personality that is so difficult to categorize. Like, it's a creepy yet smooth yet intimidating yet confusing voice. That's the quality to his voice, right? And he is an accomplished actor, say what you will. So him popping up in this trailer with the beard, like you can probably see it in the image here as well, he's got like this very um Karl Marx kind of a beard, like a very 1950s, 1930s scientist slash philosopher beard. And the kind of interactions, the effects, the scenes, and everything. Man, I am excited for this show. I just can't wait when it's going to be dropping. It's going to be releasing on the 14th of October. So please keep your eye peeled. I'm pretty certain they're going to do a week to week episode release. But trust me, this is gonna be a fantastic show, dude. Um, with that down, here's a little section that I usually like to do where I just like to give myself some space. So, if any of you who are watching the live stream, and you have to be watching live to be able to ask any questions, I take your questions. But because I see there aren't any questions in the live chat yet, I'm just gonna allow myself a minute or two just to get some water before I move on to the final stretch of this show. All right, that's much better, man. I have been at it for almost 2 hours. This might just turn out to be the longest live stream that I've ever done here on TMB, but fairly so. Like, we couldn't do a live stream last week, so this had to be a long one. And also, like, there was lots of interesting stuff that just popped up over these last couple of weeks. So that's fine. Okay, now the next category that we've got is the watch list. So for those of you who are not aware, what I like to do in these Sunday show episodes is that I always love to leave the show with a treat for all of you. So there's like a curated list of things that you could watch over the coming week. It might be related to a theme. It might be some actor that I really love and it's his birthday, so I create a list around it. It might be that it's the football season, so I want to do all the football related content out there. Just that's how it rolls. And while it's been a really long live stream, I'm glad that Marvel's made my life so much easier this week because they gave watch list, so I don't really have to do that bit of work. So, all you Marvel nuts or you people looking to get into Marvel right now, this is your watch list. Marvel's done the heavy lifting for me this week. Thank you so much, Disney. Thank you so much, Marvel. So that's yeah, just get prepped for Doomsday, man. Like if you start knocking out two movies every weekend, I think you would be prepped for Doomsday by I don't know, first to second week of November, I'd say. So let's take a look. X-Men 2000, a beautiful movie. I still enjoy going back to this time and time again because it had some really nice elements of of horror, of political, the socio political conversations and everything. um, some of the bits might seem a little campy. They haven't aged too well, I'm gonna be honest. But still a pretty fun watch. X2 X-Men United was also a good one. Like this is the one which opens with Nightcrawler's appearance and how he um, attacks the White House. Again, one of the best comic book movie openings of all time. One of the best, not the best, one of the best. Um, I think you're going to have a lot of fun watching this movie. Then there's Captain America, the first Avenger. Not my favorite Captain America movie. I'm just going to put it out there. My favorite Captain America movie is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. But Captain America, the first Avenger, did not have to be the most definitive or the best Captain America movie there is. It had to be a good origin movie, which really gave us a good look at who this guy is and how what really drives him. So in that sense, I think Captain America: The First Avenger did a fantastic job. The next up is Avengers, dude. It still gives me goosebumps the first time that I went to watch Avengers in the theater because I hadn't seen anything like that in my life. The only misfortune being that the first time I went to watch it in 2012, um, one of my friends, he'd actually booked the tickets for the movie. And he told me later on, like right before we were to enter the theater, that's when he told me, um, dude, I've got a cousin coming in. He doesn't watch a lot of English movies. So I've bought our tickets for the Hindi dubbed show. And I was like, fuck you, cousin. So the first time I watched the Avengers, I watched it in Hindi, but then I watched it again in English, and ever since there's been no turning back. Um, a very looks very campy. This is like the silliest superhero movie on this entire list. It hasn't aged well, but let me assure you, it still holds up. Like visually, it still holds up. Experientially, it still holds up. And because it was the first Avengers, it's gonna have always gonna have a soft corner in my heart. Then you've got Avengers Infinity War, arguably the best Avengers movie there's ever been. You see all the teams coming together to fight Thanos. Lots of different scenes and like a lot of emotions peppered throughout this movie. And that ending was just mad. I still remember when I walked out after watching Avengers Infinity War. Now, I used to be in Delhi back in the day when I went to watch this movie. After I was done watching it, I had to go to Subway just to grab a bite, right? After the movie. And I'm sitting there and I just don't feel like talking to anyone because I was in shock, man. I did not understand what had actually happened in the movie. And like, yeah, I was just trying to figure it all out. And uh, the guy at the subway, like he kind of became a friend because I was such a regular there. And he was like, okay, so you watched the latest Infinity War? I said, yeah, I watched it. Like, good, good. I've got my ticket for tonight. I was like, yeah, that's good, man. That's how is it? I was like, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's fine. I'm still processing the ending. He's like, yeah, a lot of people die. I was like, dude, do I give you spoilers or what? But yeah, still an excellent movie, beautifully shot. It's yeah, one of my favorites in the MCU. Then there's Avengers Endgame, of course, a movie that gave us all the all the paybacks, the callbacks and everything. Excellent movie, still a movie I turn to at least once every single year. Loki from 2021 is arguably one of the shows that sits in the top three of all time best MCU shows that have ever been done. Tom Hiddleston gives the performance of a lifetime. Um, you've got Owen Wilson again giving us some great moments. It's a great show. Takes a bit of getting used to. Takes a bit of fast forward and rewind, but a good movie. Shang-Chi, one of the best movies in the post Endgame era. um, Really good origin story, great action set pieces. The music's been really good, and again, a cultural exploration of another community, another culture, another ethnicity in the MCU. And Simu Liu is just a total rock star. And then Spider-Man: No Way Home, dude, what can I say? uh, One of the best Spider-Man movies there's ever been, because it is fan service through and through from the first scene to the last. Although it does crack you up, it tears you down towards the end. But all is well. If you've watched Spider-Man Brand New Day, you know what I'm talking about. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, again, not my favorite. Had a lot of plot armor, took a lot of uh, unnecessary swings. Not the most fun movie in this list, but yeah, it's still fine. You could give it a watch. I mean, it's still a visual treat. Um, so it's good that way. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Again, the first one was so much better. This one just felt like it was. It, yeah, it felt like a grief project. I'm sorry if that sounds wrong in any way, but it really did feel like a grief project. um the next one that I've got in here is what do you call it? Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine again was such a fun movie. I loved it. It's become my comfort watch. Again, when I was watching it, I did not take it too seriously. Like anything that's been done in a Deadpool movie, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Like you can't take everything seriously in a Deadpool movie. But considering their antiques from Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, I think this becomes essential viewing. And this also is a sign that yes, they are in Avengers Doomsday. Captain America Brave New World, it's fine. It's more like Hulk 1.5 and Captain America 3.5 or something. One of the weakest movies on this list. But I think they just want to put this movie out so you can watch it and you're able to get up to speed with where Captain America and Sam Wilson and where is this new Falcon dude coming from. And that's about it. Thunderbolts was the best MCU movie before Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm not mincing my words. So between Spider-Man No Way Home and Brand New Day, this had to be the best movie. Again, goes into some very dark places, very dark themes, but I loved it. Fantastic Four: First Steps, a detached project from the rest of the MCU continuity, but again, very stylish, looked really good. And that is the watch list. So what do you guys think about it? If you liked it, please don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. If there's any particular movie that you're extra excited about, please don't forget to share them in the thoughts. And with that down, we're gonna bring our show to an end. Also, not to forget, I am at 2% battery right now, in spite of having my laptop charged to 100% at the beginning of the stream. That's how much battery the streaming uses up. So I'm really testing my own limits as well as my laptops. But if you like the Sunday show, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, share this live stream, share this link, share this playlist, this podcast with your other fellow nuts in the pop culture space, cinema space, and superhero. This is Sid, and this is me bringing to you the Sunday show where I talk about the best and the biggest news pieces and everything else that happens within a week on Sunday. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to the Millennial Bard. Your support means the world to me, dude. And again, have a nice Sunday, have a nice rest of the weekend, and good luck for the next weekend, for the next week, rather. And I will see all of you guys on the next Sunday show. Until then, take care and stay hydrated.